We can all be thankful today that we're not Utah. We'll talk spring MVPs, and the A.J. Green injury simply means we have a new dude in and the next man up.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen. We're available on all of your podcasting platforms, visually as well on YouTube. Find me personally on X at AllDayOState. Today, we're partially brought to you by Monopoly Go. You know I have a super competitive side, and Monopoly brings it out in me. So does Monopoly Go. Join your friends and download Monopoly Go today for free on the App Store or in Google Play. Meanwhile, we get to discuss, obviously, the news of Trent Howland transferring in from Indiana to Oklahoma State because of the injury to A.J. Green. A.J. Green being the running back transfer from Tulsa, Oklahoma, leaving Arkansas after 952 rushing yards there to be the lightning package to the thunder that is Ollie Gordon. And it's really a shame because it looked like that 1-2 punch was going to be exactly what we envisioned whenever we brought him in. Like if you're thinking of maybe a Justice Hill, Chris Carson style of scenario, that's kind of what we're going to be able to get out of A.J. Green. I'm not saying A.J. Green is Justice Hill, but you get the understanding of what we were going to be able to accomplish. So losing A.J. Green is most certainly a big loss. But we found a way to plug a gap, fill a void with Indiana's leading rusher, Trent Howland. Trent Howland is a big dude. So when I say he's a big kid, I mean that. At 6'3", 245 pounds, he realistically is a little bit more than just a short yardage back. That's primarily what he's used for. And if we're going down the comp road, the comp here, if you go back and look at even the high school tape, very Kai Staley-esque, right? But the thing of it is, being from Joliet, Illinois, he was oftentimes the biggest player on the field. So the opposing teams, if the defensive line didn't tackle him, the secondary has stood no chance. In the highlights I watched from him in high school, I counted one time that a defensive back tackled him one-on-one. More often than not, it was like watching Derrick Henry play Pee-wee football. And then, obviously, whenever he goes to Indiana, he decided to do that with offers already from places like Nebraska and Iowa State. So he had options as a 3-star back coming out of the Illinois area, and he chose Indiana. And then now, when he has this new opportunity to transfer, there were some even bigger heavy hitters. Ole Miss was involved. Obviously, Oklahoma State was involved. There was another Power 4. I think it was an SEC school involved as well. But nonetheless, we found a way to gain the services of Trent Howland. And this is a big deal because he's got a couple of years left. So whatever packaging he's going to be utilized for this season, it's going to be, to spell Ollie Gordon and to do a lot of the goal line stuff, which is huge. And this is why he's coming to Oklahoma State as opposed to some of these SEC schools that could have offered him a significant amount of more and could have offered him some opportunities to have a crack at the starting role. But if you listen to some of the interviews, the dude's a phenomenal teammate. And a lot of his interviews, he talks more about his linemen and his buddies in the backfield than he does anything that he's doing or working on or feels happy about. He does have a few games under his belt where he's eclipsed the 75, 77-yard range. He's good for 10, 12, 13 carries a game all day, every day, if we need him to fill that void. This is a Kai Staley, Chris Carson kind of molded dude. And he's going to be exactly what we're going to need for some of the heavy-hitting opportunities that Ollie Gordon may need to spell himself. Because here's the deal. He's a Heisman guy. He's an All-American. He's already designated as a first-round draft pick unless something catastrophic happens. And this is the objective. To prevent any of the catastrophic things from taking place, you got to have the ability to spell Ollie Gordon occasionally. And Trent Howland knows that's precisely what he's coming in to do. And this is not a knock on Sesi Vealahe. His development has been phenomenal as well, but he's going to need a little bit more body by glass. We saw in the Texas Bowl that he showed flashes of a crap ton of ability. But when you saw him against Texas's defensive line, he was just getting swallowed up. Now, he would shoot through gaps and holes and disappear, but against Texas, he wouldn't always reappearing out the other side. So the developmental game for Sesi Vealahe is precisely where we need it to be. His body by glass factory work is getting him to the levels that we're going to need to have him to be a very reliable daily back. We also get A.J. Green back next year. So this is kind of, I don't want to say passing of the guard. We also have Jalen Allen Hendricks coming in. He's also 6'2", 225 pounds, walking in the building as a freshman. Then again, you've got to learn to battle through adversity and being in a new scenery. The dorms, you're not living at home. You've got to worry about your classes, worry about the film room, worry about what you're doing in the weight room. There's a lot that goes into it, and Sesi Vealahe is on track for what we need him to be, but he's not quite going to be able to spell Ollie Gordon as much as we're going to need somebody to do so. Now you enter Trent Howland. He has some ability to do more than just be a situational fourth down back. Although that may be his role this season, the fact that he's embracing it with open arms tells you everything you need to know about this young man. He's not coming here with any disillusionment on what his role is, what his job is, but he also understands that to keep Ollie Gordon healthy and to make sure that he has every opportunity to give himself that shot at a first-round draft pick, he's not going to be able to tote the rock 25, 35 times a game. I mean, 30 is just too many. 20 is maybe right around too shy, but 23, 24, that's kind of where you want Ollie to live. And this is a guy who can come in and relieve some of that pressure off of Ollie Gordon, just like he can relieve some of the pressure off of Jaden Allen Hendricks. Now, another little fun caveat to this is with Sesi being the lightning package that now has to kind of step up and take the role that A.J. Green was going to take as far as some of the special packages go. You also have Rodney Fields coming in. So Rodney Fields just went from somebody who was tried and true, guaranteed, gonna redshirt, to now maybe not, likely still yes. But if we're looking for this Lightning and Thunder package to be a duo that we're continuing to move forward, we know we get A.J. Green back for another year. We know we get Trent Howland back for another year. We know we get Sesi Vealahe back for another year, as long as nothing drastic changes. And we'll also have Jaden Allen Hendricks. So the running back position in Stillwater for the future looks good. But this is a move for the now. Unfortunately, this really sucks for A.J. Green because he was having a really good spring. But things happen. And when these type of things happen, you just have to adopt that mentality of the next man up. Or in this case, bringing somebody in as the next man in line to help out. But I think this is a big get, really, because Trent Howland had a lot of other options. And if we didn't get Trent Howland because of Stillwater, Oklahoma, right, that was what sold him on Stillwater, was because it's different than every other place he's ever visited. Right, this is a common theme that we hear quite often. And then you're seeing it right now with the 2025 recruiting class. The trajectory of Oklahoma State is continuing to go upward. And in this season of capitalization, you got to feel good about it, especially when you see what Utah's kind of going through, which we'll save that here for the end. What I cannot save is the opportunity for you and me and everybody around to capitalize on the wallet. This is why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook betting partner, and it's also the reason you need to get rocking and rolling with them today. It's winner take all time in the NBA and the NHL. FanDuel is going to give you a shot to bring home a piece of the wins no matter what happens. Right now, new customers get $150 back in bonus bets with any $5 bet. That's 150 bones back that you can bet on spreads, player props, money lines, overs, unders, Heismans, and much, much more. So just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon today to make every playoff shot count. You got to be in the game with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So let's shift a little bit here to some of the MVPs of the spring. This is kind of fun because we knew he had some guys like DeJon Stribling that was nursing a little bit of an injury back, and as well as some of the guys on the defensive side of the ball. So we were going to have some opportunities for the young cats, right, to get a lot of playing time, to give themselves an opportunity to catapult up in the depth chart. But I'll tell you, the biggest, I don't want to call it a surprise. No, it is. It is a surprise, okay? The biggest surprise this season for me has been Rashad Owens. He's my offensive spring MVP. I have given Rashad Owens a hard time, deservedly so, because the only thing that ever kept him back as being a starting receiver at Oklahoma State was the drops. He can make some crazy catches. He can do some crazy things, but he misses wide open balls quite often. Well, it appears as though that's the game, or the name of the game for him this offseason. And thus far, it's looking good. Not only is he being much more sure-handed with wide open passes, but him getting back up to 232 pounds, his almost tight end weight, and still being able to transfer that on the field with speed. His route running has improved. So on top of the size, on top of the more reliable hands, he's also learning to create separation a little bit better. So instead of just having to muscle your way through at a 50-50 opportunities, now he's maturing a little bit more as a route runner and a natural wide receiver, even with the 232-pound frame. So yeah, 6'2", not dropping the ball, ready to take people out, and loves blocking, just loves being a Cowboy. Congratulations, sir. You've taken your 895 yards and 5 touchdowns from last year and put them on a pedestal that you now know should be reached. So 1,000 yards is achievable. As long as we don't end up a few yards short statistically, that's a different conversation. All right. Defensive MVP, 6'3", 256-pound Gannon transfer, Obi Ezegbo. Kendall Daniels has definitely improved. He's gotten significantly bigger, and the new role that we're asking him to do, it suits him. He's still got a little bit to figure out as far as the direction, his eye discipline from the running back. If he can get that figured out, then obviously he can have an All-American caliber season as well as like a first-team All-Big 12. That's never been, an issue, the talent. It's just been about realizing and visualizing and attacking, right? It looks like Kendall's getting there. I'm excited to see what he does. But Obi Ezegbo has added a whole new wrinkle to Brian Nardo's defense. You took what Colin Oliver did as a freshman, as a defensive lineman, and then you transition him to linebacker, and then you see him kind of struggle with some of the route concepts and getting out to the flats. That's the opposite of Obi Ezegbo. Obi Ezegbo can go from a 4-point stance to covering the flats in an instant. That is a useful weapon that I don't think we've had. He's like a Calvin Bundage with a lot of muscle that moves and runs a lot like that. So I think Obi Ezegbo is definitely the defensive MVP for the spring. Special teams MVP. Y'all know I wanted to go with my main man, Hudson Clark, but we got to give it to Logan Ward. Logan Ward started off as a walk-on, and then he proved himself to be a pretty big leg, but he was a big leg that couldn't control where the ball went, to then being, okay, kickoff specialist, we just need you to have a massive leg, to now, not only is he kicking field goals on a regular basis, he's making over 85% of them, and his range is about 61 to 63 fairly comfortably. It's outside of that 63-yard range that he starts to have a bigger set of issues. We knew replacing our kicker this year was not going to be an easy proposition. We've been blessed, really, with a lot of pretty good kickers at Oklahoma State, even in recent memory. Looks like it's going to be able to continue that trend. All right, transfer MVP. This one was easy, not because of the number, but because of the skill set and the fact that this dude was a Swiss Army knife that bailed us out of a lot of unnecessary situations in practice. We have a lot of depth. We have a lot of talent. But we got thin at running back, and we had to get kind of creative, which is partially why we saw Zane Flores back there running some running back as well. And now, that's not just a gimmick. I do think that there's some packaging where we can sprinkle in Zane Flores, where he can run and pass. That's going to make him a weapon for people to have to prepare for in their weeks leading up to the game. All right. Most improved, Cameron Hurd. This is the guy that if Brennan Presley wasn't the dude, then Cameron Hurd would be starting, and he'd be getting a lot of balls, a lot of snaps, and he'd be contributing a lot to what we're doing. Oh, I got backwards. I'm sorry. Transfer MVP, Kyler Pearson. No doubt about it. Wide receiver, running back, kick returner, punt returner. Basically, after the injury to A.J. Green, we asked Kyler Pearson, the Tulsa, Oklahoma native that went to KU, and he was willing to do all of it. Not only that, it wasn't a fluke. Like, you can see visually that he's very, very elusive, and he's very hard to tackle out of the backfield. So wherever we need to line up Kyler Pearson, he's going to be somebody. We just talked a little bit about the eye candy for other teams to plan for. Kyler Pearson is going to be that guy, whether it be in the return game or as a slot receiver or in the backfield or some diamond packaging. Kyler Pearson has put himself in a position to absolutely play. Because of the injury to A.J. Green, it allowed us to see the emergence of Kyler Pearson. We knew he could play receiver. We knew he could do some returning. We did not know that he could play running back this effectively. So now we have a little extra wrinkle that we can add in, which is huge after losing somebody like an Arlen Bruce. Most improved, Cameron Hurd, got that. All right. And most improved defensively, I think would have to be Jaleel Johnson. Jaleel Johnson's up from 6'5", like 238, 240, to 265 pounds. And we know what we need out of Deshaun Brown, but we also know that, Obi Ezegbo's not always going to be down there. Colin Oliver's not always going to be down there. So you're going to have somebody else that you can wrinkle in that adds enough versatility and continuity to keep this rotation going and it not have a drop-off. Jaleel Johnson seems to have gotten that figured out. Aiden Kelly's another candidate. But Jaleel Johnson is about to be a force to be reckoned with. All right, freshman, MVP, probably pretty easy. Josh Ford, the 6'5", 245-pound tight end out of Stillwater, Oklahoma, was impressive from the get-go. He was so impressive that he impressed Mike Gundy, the same Mike Gundy that has watched this kid grow up and play football for a decade plus. He could contribute right away, which is crazy to think because we still have Tabor Shetron. We still have Quentin Stewart. We know what we have in Tyler Foster, or at least what he was able to do at Ohio. So to me, this is a big deal. David Kabongo performed very well. Trey Griffiths made several plays. Orlando Cleveland was cruising until an injury slowed him down a decent amount. When you look at the guys that we know have improved, like Alan Bowman, Garrett Rangel, and then you look at some guys that appear to have improved, but we won't really know until we get 100% full speed, and like a DeJon Stribling. Guys, if DeJon Stribling legitimately has gotten better from last year and he stays healthy, there's a receiver. And it's going to be hard to keep Brendan Presley from cracking 1,000 yards because he should have cracked it this last season. And then obviously you have Rashad Owens. You still have Talon Shetron as well. We have so much talent. And when you see some of these spring MVPs, it shows you that some of the depth behind it that we didn't know about or are new are going to be contributing factors to this season. Now, that's not always indicative of what the season's going to be for a big-time spring performances. We've had players show up and show out in spring and then literally only get 3 snaps, 12 snaps the entire rest of the season. But it does give you a little bit of an insight to what we have rocking and rolling at the moment. We're not Utah, thankfully. We have a lot of stuff rocking and rolling for us that they do not. But we're going to save that, just like I can save you from not going another day without feeding off of some competition, right? Winning solves everything. If you like to win, go get Monopoly Go. If you're watching a game, you pause it, you can have fun and have bragging rights. You can team up with friends for time tournaments. Now you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome the prizes you get to unlock. You get these unique stickers that you can trade with friends, and you can complete albums for big prizes. They've got cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with. They've got awesome emojis so you can taunt your friends and have a good time there. Monopoly Go is the place that you need to go today. It feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. There's always new timed events that help you win big. There's massive multipliers for everyone and everything you win at. There's always something fun to discover with Monopoly Go. So go set off on your journey by downloading it now for free today, Google Play or in the App Store. It's time to get your Monopoly Go on today. Have that bragging rights, right? Tell your peoples you're the best at moving around the board and have some proof with it. Okay, not Utah. Now, this isn't a big stab at Utah. We feel your pain. This was Oklahoma State last season, losing 23, 24, 25, whatever transfers. But for the darling pick to win the Big 12, from the fan base that thinks that they're going to come in and just dominate the Big 12 from day one, you've lost all of your running backs for the most part. I mean, you have a couple guys coming back that had some carries last year, but you lost 3 of your top 5 backs. You have almost the same number of losses in the back end of your defense. So your safeties, cornerbacks, free safeties, all that. It's not looking great as far as the depth goes. What's behind Cam Rising? It's the 2 guys who are gone. So we have a lot of depth, and it's allowing us to do some pretty fun things in the spring. Utah doesn't have much depth at all. Sure, there's going to be some crucial spots where they do, like linebacker, defensive line, but there's also going to be some spots like quarterback and running back and cornerback where depth is usually a pretty big deal. And even if it's not, if you're going to take out the starters, okay, fine. What have we talked about ad nauseum about, why we need to make sure we have the best PW program in the Big 12? It's because if your third team scout team is really, really, really good, then that means your first team, second team dudes are going to be prepared to a level that other teams aren't going to be able to replicate when the season comes around. So is Utah starters going to be as good as Oklahoma State for the most part? Probably yes. But is there depth? No. Utah luckily gets us week 4. So when they play Oklahoma State, they should be pretty loaded for war. But by week 9, week 10, week 11, in this conference, you lose Cam Rising and a linebacker, and your 11-win projection goes to 7 wins real quick. Now, I do know that Kyle Whittingham, much like Mike Gundy, is probably capable of figuring this thing out. But it's hard to replace depth. It's taken Mike Gundy in Oklahoma State a better part of 2 decades to get this depth that we just now started getting. This is new territory for Cowboy fans. We're not used to having enough depth to be able to do a multitude of things and have a multitude of packages and come from different angles and be very confusing for the quarterbacks. This is new for us. If you capitalize on it, this will start to be the new trend for us every single year, which you all know that's where I think we should be. I think most of you agree Oklahoma State should be at the top of the Big 12 year in and year out. I feel bad for Utah, kind of. Okay, I lied. I don't feel bad for them at all because their fan base has been pretty obnoxious, I think is a good PC word to say. Of course, they've got good fans like everybody else. But percentage-wise, they've got a lot of fans that are just living in la-la land. Like they firmly believe that they're going to come into the Big 12 and run it right away, regardless of depth, talent, doesn't matter. We shall see. But I tell you this, if a completely healthy Week 4 Utah club cannot beat us, it ain't happening. At least not this season. So this is a time that we can be thankful that we're not in the boat that Utah is. We can also be thankful in the fact that people continue to underestimate Oklahoma State, which is great, right? It's great for your pocketbook if you're a betting individual. They keep underestimating us. And this is the season for us to capitalize, not just Mike Gundy, Chad Weiberg, Oklahoma State, but us as a fan base. Hammer the over. There will likely never be another time in the next few 5, 6, 7 years that we're picked 7th, 8th, 9th style in the conference. We might be a team that's overvalued from here on out. If we win this Big 12 title, we might be a team that's picked 2nd place, 3rd place every single year, no matter what. But that's how important this season is. The perception for Oklahoma State has changed significantly nationally. I think we're starting to do a little bit better from a media department recently, thankfully. So we're getting it out there. Okay? It's easy when you have a Heisman guy. It's easy when you have 21 returning starters. But it's not easy to win. It's not easy to win in the Big 12. So thankfully, we lost 8 players the last transfer portal round, and we've lost 2 thus far. One of them makes a lot of sense, right? We touched on it a little bit yesterday. Donovan Stevens, he's good enough to start at Tulsa, North Texas, Texas State, all day, every day. He's just not quite Oklahoma State starting material. So it being, later on in his journey, and he's used Oklahoma State very successfully in building muscle and getting faster and understanding the game and film better. So wherever he goes, they're going to get the benefit of his time at Oklahoma State. But that makes sense. Now, case in Cabinets, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? Your family legacy going back to Cade, whatever. I don't understand it, but it's okay. Maybe, I don't know. Don't know what the baby Cabinets is thinking by this move, but nonetheless, we wish him the best. Just like we wish you all the best, because that is all we're going to have for today. You know I love you. We're going to talk recruiting class tomorrow with national recruiting expert Brian Smith. So be prepared for that one. Also be prepared for this Oklahoma State football season to blow people's minds. Let's capitalize. All right, guys. You know I love you as always. God bless. Go Pokes. Like it. Yeah, let's bump these numbers. Like it, share, comment, subscribe. On podcasts and folks out there, drive safe. You're the bricks. You're the foundation, the bread, the butter. Hit the stars. Leave the reviews. Do what you do. I'm out of here. It's baseball time. Later, taters.